Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another E3 2018 special edition of the Boom Pop-Up Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about everything Ubisoft. Being a huge Division fan, this is a topic I cannot wait to get in, but I would not be able to have as much fun as I think I'm going to have without someone who appreciates the Division just as much as I do. He's been on the show before. He has his own little show that he does on Sunday mornings. He's also always somehow losing in the next podcast when it comes to gameplay, and we have to fix that by the end of this show. And of course, I'm talking about Predator H2O. What's up, dude? Thanks for coming back on the show.
Oh man, thank you for having me on again. I know we got some Ubisoft stuff to discuss today. Yeah, y'all need to vote for Pred, man. I don't know.
Yeah, this is I don't know, and you know what? I'm not saying it because you're on the show. I'm saying that your gameplay is usually really good. And I don't understand it. I think it's more of a popularity thing than actually a gameplay thing.
We talk about that too behind the scenes. And like, I mean, I don't expect to win every week. I mean, like, you know, K Mega and Jesus, I'm drawing a blank right now. If the guy that hosts the show, Bot, Jesus Christ. That's their show. You know, they've kind of been around since the beginning. I'm the new guy on the podcast with those guys. So I mean, I don't expect to win, but damn, my gameplay is fire.
It is. It is. I've watched
Mega brings it sometimes, and Xbox brings it sometimes too. But there's been a couple of weeks I'm like, I got this, and I still lose. Like, not just lose. Like, I'm not getting second place. I'm getting like last place.
Unacceptable. Well, listen. Let's get into Ubisoft. We're both fans. You've said it publicly that you're more of a shooter type kind of a guy. You really enjoyed Ghost Recon. You've played The Division. You've played most of the Ubisoft games. You know, I had a few expectations. We'll talk about what was disappointing about the show and what really wowed us. But we're going to start off with how the show started. And, you know, I don't normally watch their conferences until, you know, the important parts of it that I want to watch, like Division, Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, stuff like that. I'll turn it on them, but I had to watch because I'm doing the show, I need to take notes, and I want to make sure that the listeners hear and can see what I'm saying and understand from start to finish what they showed in the conference. And to be completely honest, the start of the conference was horrendous. You know, Just Dance 2019, I get it. It is a big title. I buy it from my nephew every year. He absolutely loves it. But here's the thing. The dancing party, the dancing panda, I thought it lasted a little longer than it should have. I mean, am I wrong for thinking that, Pred?
No, I mean, I know they're trying to hype up their game, but like, I mean, it's a dancing game. I just thought that starting off the show with that was like just to end it with that. No, I won't say end it with it either.
That'd be devastating.
I'm really trying to think of when would be a good point in the show to actually do that. And like, I guess get it out of the way in the beginning. I think it lasted a bit long. They could have like something like that. Like, we know that's like a yearly franchise for them. You don't even need to show this shit. Just like announce it. We have Just Dance coming out on this day or something like that. That's for the crowd. That really isn't for us, you know, watching from home. That's something you can do in the pregame, you know, before the show starts and before they kick on the switch to start the live show.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
For those guys that are there watching it. But like, I've never been a fan of them doing that. And I think they've done it a couple of times. I remember one year Jason Derulo came out and just like his singing was horrible at the time. And I don't know. I know that's their game. It's like one of the only dancing games left out there because Microsoft doesn't do Dance Central anymore. But they got to support it to some degree. But I just think like that's a bad way to start a conference, man.
You know what? Thankfully, as soon as it ended, they really got into the nitty gritty of what makes Ubisoft. So we're gonna go right into it. Beyond Good and Evil 2 looked phenomenal. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get any real, at least I don't think that was gameplay. It's probably in engine, I would assume. But I know that my brother Neo Mental has been looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to this. I enjoyed the first one. This game is a long time coming. We have a lot to kind of dive in because there's a lot of information. But what was your take on it, dude?
It did look amazing, and I did not play the first Good and Evil, Beyond Good and Evil. This one looked really good. I'm still kind of like you said, it wasn't probably, real gameplay or anything like that. I don't even know if it was available for the show or people that were there, but they've been working on this game for a while. I think they announced it last year as well. I thought it'd be a little further along than what it is, but in typical Ubisoft fashion, they probably will not see this game until late 2019 or 2020.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
But I mean, it looks good. I mean, I still don't understand what the game is about because I didn't play the first one. So as a guy coming in that doesn't have any knowledge of it, like I see a pig, I see a couple of people, a couple of weird animals. They're flying, they're shooting things, and I want to know more about what the game is. I guess I can go back and check out the original, but for someone who doesn't know what this game is, I really can't get really hyped over it other than the visuals. They look really good.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, look, here's the thing. I am excited for this game. I was honestly disappointed that we didn't get at least a release year. Like, hey, 2019, because this game has been in development for quite a bit. So I want to say it's got to be in the oven at least 4 years. There's no doubt about it. So, but I kind of want to move on to something that of course has to do with the game, and that's called the Space Monkey program. And I thought it was extremely interesting for a lot of reasons. First of all, they're teaming up with Hit Record. And that, of course, is a Joseph Gordon-Levitt owned company. He's an actor, but he's also an activist when it comes to arts and music and, wall art and all those kinds of things. And I thought what they're doing with this particular game is extremely interesting because they're involving the community to collaborate. You put forth, your wall art, or you put forth, words to a song, and they team you up with some musicians, and you team up, you make a song, and it somehow gets into the game. I thought that was fantastic. I've never seen that done with any company before. What are your takes on it?
That's actually really amazing too that they do that, because he was talking that they've done this before with other projects, not really in the video game space. And that also kind of is like a telltale sign of how far this game is probably off in development.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I love the ideal. I would be curious to see like what people are submitting to this. Like I'd love to see Don put something in there. I see him in chat over here because I know he's a developer. But like what ideals people are putting into the game to see what I mean, like, and how would I recognize that someone created that as I'm playing the game? Like if I see a wall art somewhere, or graffiti or something like that, someone has drawn something to put in the game. How do I know who did that? And what if I'm interested in that person's, artwork or, music or whatever they put into the game? And if I wanted to find out more about it, do I have to wait till the credits scroll, or is there a website based on this stuff
of some sort that you can look into? Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point. Really good point.
So they're trying to not only just like, maybe some people are just having fun, but some people are probably out there trying to market themselves too. So this is a good way to get other people involved in the game. Like I know, we get in these forums and we chat with, the forum owners and stuff like that about things we want in certain games, and, argue and complain because they always say, oh, this game's made for you. But this is the first time I've actually seen something or heard of something where they're actually letting you have input on the final say-so of the game, not just a beta. This is something a little bit more than that, where you're actually putting forth effort to create something that will be generated into the game. Which is amazing. It just gives hope for some of the younger developers out there that are trying to start something.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, look, let's just say this. If you're an upcoming artist, we know how difficult, they call them starving artists for a reason. And I think it's insulting when you say it to somebody, but that's what they say, right? That's what the terminology is in the world. And if you're an up and coming artist, you're out of school and you like video games, just imagine you'd be able to say, I worked with Ubisoft, I worked with this company, my art that I did is in this game. That's big. That's real. That's more than someone that's new to the scene could possibly ask for. So, and you didn't just fall into it. You logistically went to the website, You put your art in. They contacted you. You did your process, and your art is now teamed up with someone. Maybe it's during a club scene. Your art's on the wall, and there's music that someone created or something. That's pretty impressive. I really like the way that the direction that they're going with this, because I personally have never seen this done before.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm working too. But yeah, you're right, and I would love to see if it expands beyond. I guess I only really heard him say art and music, but like, what if I create like a character model, like someone you can fight in the game or something like that? That'd be pretty awesome too.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think anything is off the table because they said it. If you're a graphic artist or you're a designer or you're a game designer, go to the website, put something in there. Who's to say that you couldn't make a boss character? Maybe that you've designed something, and there's no real story behind your character that you created. You just doodled, came up with this character, saw this, took a chance, and then they're using your character as, maybe it doesn't have to necessarily be a boss character, but the fact that you could get your character into the game, holy crap, that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm about to look into this Space Monkey stuff and see what
well, I'll tell you what, it certainly brings attention to the game itself, for sure. I mean, the game itself already has a cult following, but the fact that they're going to offer, artistic folks out there who are talented in music and art and design and everything else, that's just going to bring more revenue and more interest into the game.
Yeah. And from my understanding, I'm looking on the site now. They don't have it up and available yet. It doesn't look like. They're still going to go through a beta phase first.
Yes.
It makes it seem like this game's really far off.
That's funny. Don is saying free labor.
I know, right? Free smoke. Yeah, it looks like, just by looking at this, like, if they're going through a beta phase for this, that means they're pretty far off from this game.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, so you know what, we're gonna move on to the next thing. Now, I don't have a lot of notes for it because I just kind of didn't want to glance over it. I think it's important. I want to get your opinion on it because you're ex-military, you're a tactics shooter kind of a guy. We know your story about basically taking on 672 people with one bullet, one gun, and winning. We've heard that story. Rainbow Six Siege. Now, here's the thing. They reported that there is currently, and this is astounding, 35 million players. And if you remember, when this game came out, it was DOA on arrival. There's no other way to put it. And in complete, utter Ubisoft fashion, they resuscitated this franchise, and it is now like one of the most popular shooters. Again, not for me, because I'm more of a Rainbow Six Vegas kind of a guy. I really enjoyed the story, and then I enjoyed the multiplayer with friends. I'm just not into this kind of Rainbow Six, where obviously that's where the franchise started. But what is your take on the franchise itself? Something that you're interested, or it's a pass for you?
I played the beta, and I was really interested in the beta. But once and it's one of those games I waited to buy, and I'm glad I did. I still haven't bought it, just for the record. But when I played the beta, I had a good time with it, but it seemed like it was lacking so much. And I'm glad they have, decided to stick with it and go through the growing pains of what they had in the beginning to what it is now. I know it's really popular with the competitive game space as well. And so they're just going to continue to add to it. I was actually more disappointed that they canceled Rainbow Six Patriots.
Oh, that looked fantastic, dude.
And I was like, okay, this is a 4v4 shooter only game, online game. It was really, we've had enough of those. And like, I like more of the group shooters. Like,
yes,
something happened. I don't know when this happened. Like, they kind of snuck it on us, where we used to go from like only game that really does it's like Halo and Battlefield, but we used to go from like 16 player, maybe 24 player multiplayer games, 16v16 or 8v8. And now it's just shrunk down to 4v4. And I don't know what happened and why that became a thing, but I've never really been a fan of the 4v4. I've just never liked it. Ghost Recon does it now too. And I'm like, man, I wish they'd go back to the 8v8 or 16v16, the way it used to be, or the way it was when I first started gaming on online multiplayer. But the game tactically, it's great. Like it like the everything they do in this game, like from a tactics perspective, is calling out my name. I've just never been able to get into it as a shooter fan, as a guy who loves military and shooters like this. For some reason, I just could not get into this game, and I've tried it multiple times. It's like they've had free weekends, and now it's like I'm so far behind the power curve. Even if I was really interested, I would still need to bring someone along to show me the ropes again because I forgot how to play. So
yeah, I bought it. I bought the season pass for it because I used to just go crazy back in the days and just buy everything. I'd get the gold package, Ubisoft gold package, and I put hardly any time into it. I mean, I did the training and everything. It's just I lost interest real quick because like I said, I'm more of a Vegas RB6 Vegas kind of a guy. I like the single player story behind that. I like the terrorist hunt that they had. I used to play that with friends. It was fantastic. And this is just, I kind of fell off, and I probably wouldn't go back unless there was a logistic single player or single player with your friends campaign sort of a thing. If I can do, a story with my friends, I would play that.
Even if it's just to get used to the mechanics of the game. Because
sure.
I remember jumping into a match. They had like a free weekend. It was like one of the first time I had played it since the beta. Like I got into the match, and you do the little drone cart thing to go find the bombs and stuff like that. And I was getting the feel of that stuff, and then we went right into the game, and like some of the buttons were different from most shooters I play, and I ended up shooting people on my team on accident, and they shot me, and I never went back after that.
That's a bad experience. That's a bad one.
So I needed like a game I need like a starter game to kind of get me used to the mechanics.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they would. I would imagine that you could probably just pop into it and they would put you through some sort of a training mode of sorts. But it is what it is. It's not for me, not for you. There's plenty of shooters to play, that's for sure. We're going to move on to the next game that was in their E3 lineup, and that, of course, is a new Trials game called Trials Rising. It is a multiplayer. Well, it's not a multiplayer focused. Multiplayer has been added where it's not just you on the track. It's logistically, I think, 7 other people for a total of 8 players, which seems really insane because that game could be extremely challenging. Have you ever played a Trials game?
Yeah, I've tried it out a couple of times. I suck at it, but it's pretty fun. It's like one of those games you play on the shitter. I couldn't see. I don't know how much the game is, but I couldn't see myself dropping $60 on this game. If it was 60, that's like
I don't think it is $60. Normally they're like 20 bucks or something like that for the Trials games. They're usually just like downloadable games on live.
Okay, yeah, that's that type of game it reminds me of.
Yeah,
like a preview program type game or something like that. That's like maybe $20, but if it's 60, hang that shit up. That's never gonna happen. But like this would be a perfect game for the Switch for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what? There are a lot of games that have come out that are now finally releasing on the Switch that are perfect for like I said, on the crapper, in a doctor's office, on a plane, wherever, because that is the lore of the Switch, because it's a home console in your hand, which is fantastic. So yeah, the game looked interesting. I will probably get it. I've bought them all. I've only invested, I get really deep into playing them. I'll put 10, 15 hours into them. I'll never finish them. Some of the boards just become so outrageously challenging, especially when you start trying to get golds on everything. It's just I'm happy just to finish, let alone get a gold.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Oh, it's $9.99 on Steam, I think. Let me see. March 1st. No, this is not the same game. It's something else. I've noticed that like about some of these games, like they're like I never finish them, right? Like Trials is one of those games I just play. Like I got Mario Kart, I didn't get too involved in that. I played a shitload of it, but I never tried to finish a game. But and this is one of those games like I would buy it just to validate my purchase for having a Switch.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, listen, you eventually have to buy something for the Switch because you bought the Switch.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we're gonna move on now. This is the meat and potatoes of what we're here to talk about. My brother's in the chat, Neo Mental. Him and I have a crew that we roll with. Like we expressed the last time, I'm the guy that runs into danger. I always seem to find, excuse me, trouble, if you will. Um, and our crew is all looking forward to this. But I'm interested, before I get into the, what my feelings are, I always like to talk with the guests first. How excited are you for the Division 2? But more so, are you excited from what they showed you?
I loved what I saw, like the opening scene with the jungle that they had out there. The environments I saw look great. I don't know if it's because like as open as the Division was, it was still kind of linear to me in my mindset. Like I couldn't just venture off into places and buildings I really wanted to. There are set buildings you can go into and buildings you couldn't go into. You see a shitload of buildings, but like only a couple of them have doors on there where you can go upstairs and go into and find gear and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping this is more of an open world type game.
It certainly looked it, that's for sure. It looked really big.
Yeah, and we're looking at what we're seeing now. They do a really good job presenting these games. And I remember going back because I went back and I looked at the E3 from the first Division and like the tech demo, whatever they had, and there was a lot of stuff in that game that ended up not making the game. Like they had drones in that. Go back and look up the Division.
Yes, they did. They actually had someone controlling it with a tablet, if you remember.
They had a bunch of other shit in it, and then like it looked really good, and then we got the final product that did not look anything like that. And so not just visually, but like you're missing some things. Like the dashboard was different, things were pushed in different places on your screen and stuff like that. And then I got like, and I think a lot of people went through this too. You got divisioned out because I was in the alpha, the pre-alpha, the alpha, and the beta, and the second beta, the closed beta, the open beta, the hey, thanks for playing beta, like all of them. And so by the time the game came out, I was like, I've done all this shit like 10 times already, so I got divisioned out, but I still bought the game. I still played it daily for like 2 months. I played that game every day. I went through all my missions and stuff. I played up until like the third incursion, and I got the gold package too. So I got the underground stuff, and then it's kind of got like, I got, these type of games, content doesn't come out as often. There's a lot of mistakes and things in the game that kind of pissed you off that like, man, why can't I shoot this guy? Why am I hitting this guy with 100 rounds and he's still running at me with a baseball bat? Like simple shit like that was just pissing me off because I know mechanics of games. If you get shot just once, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? And I know the game isn't built for that kind of stuff, but like if I empty a clip in you, reload, empty another clip in you, you're still running at me with a baseball bat and a shield, there's a problem. Like,
yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, that was the laughing joke with the bullet sponge nonsense. I'm assuming I mean, listen, I'm going to say this about Ubisoft. They are great when it comes to listening to fan feedback. And I will give the developers of the Division 1 a ginormous amount of credit. That game is not the same vanilla the Division it was in its current state. They gave you basically everything for free, including the whole west side of New York with the pier. And they added so many different things that they were listening to what the fans had to say. And I think that what we're going to get in the Division 2 is probably what their vision of Division 1 was. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right in that aspect, and especially with the comment of them fixing that game and making it a lot better. I've gone back in maybe about a month ago and tried it, and I was like, oh, this does feel a lot better. The Dark Zone thing, I'd never really gotten to it. I got it to like level 50 or something like that in the Dark Zone. They changed so much in it from the beginning of the game, in the Dark Zone area specifically, that kind of took away from what I think they really wanted the Dark Zone to be.
Right. I'm interested. It's funny you're saying the Dark Zone because you had asked me off the air, did they mention anything? And they did not.
No, they didn't.
So I'm curious to see, is the Dark Zone going to come back, or is it going to be something different?
Yeah, I think it'll be something different. It's the same concept, but I don't think I'll call it the Dark Zone. Maybe the whole map will just be a Dark Zone. The whole game. I don't know. I mean, like I said, they didn't mention it. I still think they say this game's coming out in March. I think they'll push it back personally, but we'll
Oh,
see.
I hope not, dude. I
That's
hope
just,
not.
you know, I've been an Ubisoft fan for a while. They've gotten better because I think Assassin's Creed Origins came out on time.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
prior to that, Ghost Recon was delayed, Rainbow Six was delayed.
Yeah.
Like everything they did prior to that got delayed, the major games anyway. So we'll see. I think even the Division got delayed.
Yeah, I got delayed a couple of times actually,
Yeah.
if I recall correctly. I am
So
going to say this. I want to bring up some of the things that I thought were really interesting with what they were talking about. First of all, there's going to be 8-player raids.
yes.
And my brother Neo Mental and I were talking about this, and he came up with a really good point. He said, "I wonder if it's going to be, it's going to be 2 teams of 4. You're going to meet up, and then you're going to have to separate to take care of 2 different tasks with teams of 4, and then for the final battle, meet up again, which would be just absolutely insane. The amount of man, I'm so excited. What is your take on the possibility of that happening, where 8 players are going to team up, and you're going to have to split up sometime or another during this raid to take care of 2 different tasks, and then meet together at the end to finish it off. What do you think about
it'll
that?
be that in depth like that. I think like there was one incursion where they had to down aircraft, if you remember that one.
Yes.
And it's more of a teamwork based incursion. Like some people have to, take care of this side of the map, some people have to take care of that side of the map, and one person has to focus on doing something else. And that's how we beat that incursion. Something along those lines where it's more teamwork based, where you're still all in the same area because you might have to revive somebody, et cetera, et cetera. But
Yeah.
You're all within the same area, but you all have different tasks within that area to help you out. Instead of splitting off, like you go around this building, go upstairs to the 3rd floor and kill this guy, and I'm going to go over here down in the gutter and kill this guy, and we'll meet up on the street level. I don't think it's going to be that in depth. I think most likely you'll have a map area you're supposed to be in, and everyone has their own task and role they have to do in order to beat the game, in order to beat the mission or whatever it is.
Yeah. I am going to say this. They added, which I thought was pretty interesting, because remember, a lot of people who played it, once you hit level 30, the game had kind of dropped off a cliff, right? There wasn't, there wasn't anything really to do. And they learned from their mistakes. And they have something I thought was really interesting. I already know what specialization I'm going to take, but they have 3 different ones once you hit level 30, which is the end game stuff. They have the crossbow. They have, because you get a special weapon when you hit level 30. Yep. The crossbow, which is great. The grenade launcher, i.e., right, for me, because like I said, I like up close and personal kind of, boom comes from something, right? And then they have the last last weapon, which my brother is going to take, and that, of course, is the sniper rifle, which looks dope, especially if you have someone that's really good with sniping, and he is. What weapon would you take at the end of the end game for you for Division 2?
Probably a sniper.
Yeah.
I like to do things like when I'm playing a lot of games, I like to do the slow, quiet, kill you and let you try to figure out where the fuck I'm at type shit. So probably a sniper. And if I just really suck at the shooting mechanics, I'll go with I'm not saying that you do, but like when I play games, when I suck at shooters, I'll just go with the fucking noob tube, and I just
yeah. Listen, here's the thing. I run my gear set that I currently run is the Firecrest and the Lone Star, because I like a lot of bullets.
Yeah.
And I also like fire. Not personally, I'm not a fire starter, but I'm just I like setting people on fire. I think it's hilarious. And I run a G36 that's doing almost 500 DPS, 500,000 DPS. It's ridiculous. But I am more of the up close and personal kind of a guy where, like, when I play with my brother, he'll hit you from the distance and he'll just, light you up, and it's great. So I could see that working well, but I'm really happy that they're listening to the fans when it comes to after you put in 20, 30 hours, what happens afterwards. And I want to talk about the three DLCs that they have planned. Of course, they're going to be episodes. And what a lot of people, I don't know if they, I mean, if you're a fan, that you heard what I'm about to say, but I was like really listening to it. And what is interesting about the start. Now, and he said that this is just the start of the end game of the Division. The episodes 1, 2, and 3, they're going to be different areas of Washington D.C. that you're not privy to until those DLCs come out. And I think that is very interesting because it opens up the game that you're going to constantly be playing something new. Does that better the game for you, Pred?
Yeah, I mean, hold on a second. What really got me out of all that you were saying is like all that shit's free.
Yes, yeah, I want to bring. I'm glad you brought it up, dude.
So, in opening up new areas and stuff like that. I mean, like this game is gonna expand, of course. I'm looking forward to seeing how they expand it. I think me and you were talking offline about like what areas are gonna expand into. Like that's gonna not really make a break for me. I think what caught my eye was all this shit's free, and like it was something you had to pay for in the past. But that was my biggest takeaway from that whole situation where they were talking about that. I was like, once I heard free, everything got tuned out for me.
Well, I mean, look, I'm assuming this is again, I'm complete speculation, but when they talk about free, they talk you would imagine that there's going to be some sort of purchasable gear of sorts, weapon skins, hats, jackets, specialized, Rainbow Six gear, specialized Splinter Cell gear, whatever. And I'm okay with that because you don't have to buy that to play the DLC. How important is that to its players, Pred?
It's great because like, in the past, like I guess like some of the issues with games like this in the past is like, it's like, what is it, play to win type shit. And if this doesn't matter, it's like all stuff you find and all stuff like that. Like I remember getting some of this gear. It made no difference in my character. It was just more appearance and cosmetic type stuff. Like I remember beat the game. I got this like purple jacket or stuff like that. Like by beating the main game of Division 1, like it had no bearing on anything I did during the game. It just looked cool. And some people recognize that stuff. Like, oh, where'd you get the jacket? Oh, you beat the game. Okay, cool. Different patches and stuff. Didn't they mention something about getting patches to do certain things too?
Yes, they did. Yes.
And as long as none of that has any bearing whatsoever on your interaction with other people in the game, like it doesn't give you like a supreme boost over everybody else, I'm all for it. Most of it seems like it's just cosmetic.
Well, you know what? I mean, listen, that's also a cred thing. If you see a jacket that you want and it's somebody in your team, like, listen, it's just a jacket, but some people, listen, what do you think is funding Fortnite? It's not because it's the greatest shooter since sliced bread. It's because everyone has emotes, right? And everyone's wearing afros with gold chains, or they're wearing mohawks with skateboards, whatever. But people want that kind of stuff. People want to buy that stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I wouldn't buy it, because guess what? I absolutely would. If I saw a jacket that let's say for instance, you had the ability to buy a Splinter Cell outfit, because one of my favorite games, I would drop down $5 for that and not even think it twice.
Was that stuff unlockable in the first game?
I believe all of it was, yes.
I remember getting like some Ghost Recon gear and some Splinter Cell
all of
gear.
it was. They had the Rainbow Six, they had the Splinter Cell. I'm pretty sure all of it was unlockable. I don't recall buying anything.
I don't remember buying any of that shit either. I think I either unlocked it or I had like those Ubisoft points from playing the game.
Yes.
That way.
Yes.
That's cool. Like, because they usually give out those points too. Like if there's something you really want, like if you don't use them, I never use them. Like every Ubisoft game you play counts towards that Ubisoft.
Right. Every time you unlock an achievement, usually they give you that amount of achievement points towards the Ubisoft store.
Yeah, and I think that's how I got some of that stuff in the first place. And again, like that stuff doesn't matter to me. I think my stepson, he's been down here like 3 times since he's been here for the summer asking for money for Fortnite. But like to me, like unless I just find, like I usually roll with the gear that I found or got anyway. So like it's just cosmetic stuff. It doesn't really make or take from the game that much, other than every now and then it's a conversation starter while you're playing online with somebody. But other than that, I mean, it's as long as I'm not paying a shitload of money for it and it's not killing the community, then whatever, you spend your money you want to.
Before I move on to the next topic, because I really don't want to, but there's a whole other show. I could spend 2 hours talking about the Division. Just want to give a shout out to a couple of people in the chat. Lady Foxfire, she's awesome. Check out her content. Her channel is amazing. UK Dazarus, He's not the moderator of the year. He is the moderator of the universe. I gave him a promotion. Sorry, there's no money. Subs at marketing. Neo Mental, my brother, of course, always there. Agent Rayon, a good friend of mine. We grew up together. Graphic God, you know, he does all my work. If you ever want quality intros and gamer picks, that's the guy you go see. Of course, we have to talk about the first amount of people that were in the chat. Shoshu, what's up, dude? Pink Floyd, always a big supporter of the channel. Noof Nukem, Victor, Alistine, thanks for coming by. Really appreciate that. Da Vinci, he's been in the chat before. Aldorf Witches, thanks for coming by. I really appreciate the support. Let's see. The Don, listen, this guy, he's been on my show numerous times. He really knows his stuff. I cannot wait to have him back on. He really has his ear to the floor when it comes to gaming. Again, let's see who else is here. Shinsho Elite, big fan of the show. I really appreciate all the support. If I did miss you, I am sorry. Trying to read the chat and run a show, not as easy as it sounds.
I see my friend L Boogie out there.
Yes, L Boogie. Yes, thank you. I text them in the chat. I really appreciate stopping by. It's greatly appreciated. Like I said, Pred, if you see someone that I didn't mention, please give them the shout out, because like I said, this is
everybody I know. I'm not really paying attention to chat either, but I see. Yeah, I think you got everybody that I know of.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, a big thank you for everyone coming out. It is greatly appreciated. And now we're going to move on to the next topic. We were talking earlier about the Switch. This is one of the games, in my opinion, are a reason to purchase a Switch, and that is, of course, is Mario and Rabbids. They announced the Donkey Kong expansion that comes out July 26th, or is it June? June 26th. That's at the end of the month. It is so calm. I always say that. It's not so calm. It's RTS-esque, if you will. But it's an RTS fun type of game. The combat is fantastic. If you've never played it, I would say I don't know if there's a demo for it, but the game is fantastic. The Rabbids themselves are hilarious characters. I think that what the game itself without the DLC is already fantastic. But this DLC, being able to use Donkey Kong and it opens up new areas and new enemies and new moves to use. Is this something that interests you, Pred?
Not one bit.
I didn't think so. But I had to ask. I had to ask.
Matter of fact, when they started playing this, I think I went and got another drink or something, man. I was not interested in this at all.
You know what? I have to shout out Ahmed Sen. He said XCOM, thank you for the save, because for some reason I always say the other thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm something wrong with me. Whatever. But thanks for the save, dude. It's greatly appreciated. Yes, it's very XCOM-ish or light, if you will. I happen to really like it. I know that you are not an RTS kind of a guy, but I can't assume, because you know what that makes me. So I just wanted to at least ask you. And yeah, well, all right. So we're gonna, that was short lived, but we know when it's coming out. And if you're interested in that type of game, great. The next game is Skull and Bones, and this, of course, found life in one of the Assassin's Creed games with the pirates. And that game I loved. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed the boat battles. This looks to expand on it. The only combat, at least that was shown, is going to be, combat on the ship itself, like when you board someone's ship. So it's going to be Assassin's Creed-esque, if you will, where you're fighting and killing everyone on board, taking over the ship, stealing their gold, and moving on. Does this interest you at all?
It does. And the whole time I was watching this, I'm sitting thinking like, hey, Sea of Thieves, pay attention.
Yes, I thought the same thing. Good point, dude.
Not necessarily just the graphics. I mean, because I like the cartoony style graphics of Sea of Thieves. I think it fits it specifically coming from Rare. However, there was a lot of other mechanics in the game. Like my biggest gripe on Sea of Thieves has nothing to do with the gameplay. It's the environment. Like, it's the ocean. Like, where are the sea creatures? Like, in the crabs and like fish
Some
and
things other than
seagulls
sharks.
and
Yes.
yeah, other than a shark and a bodiless kraken, like everything in the ocean. When you jump in the water, like you should be seeing like kelp and shit like that. Like the environment on Sea of Thieves versus the environment in Skull and Bones, completely different. Like, and I get it, they're two different art styles, two different games, but like there's so much missing from Sea of Thieves that when I saw Skull and Bones, the first thing that came to my mind was like, that's how you do a pirate game. Even if I had the same mechanics as Sea of Thieves, I think it could look a lot better and be more flourished, I guess. Even with the cartoony style graphics, they should have added more to that the palette that they have on there. And when I saw Skull and Bones, was the first thing that came out of my mind. It looks like a fun game. A lot of like shipbuilding and stuff like that. A lot of, multiplayer. It isn't just like 4 people on a small boat. It's like, you have a team of NPCs on the boat too. So plus the people you play with. So I thought that was a good concept, and it like had Sea of Thieves not come out when it did. Let's swap positions. Let's say Skull and Bones came out first, and Sea of Thieves came out second. I think Sea of Thieves will get no play, like when it came to the gameplay mechanics that are within Skull and Bones. I think, but I mean, I know it's an Xbox exclusive, whatever. Everybody's gonna buy it just because of that. But like, I really like what I saw in Skull and Bones. Like, and if I could merge those two games together, that'd be fucking perfect.
Well, first of all, the graphics looked gorgeous. It looked very dark. It looked adult themed. You know what I'm saying? There was an overall arcing story per captain that you kind of wanted to know about. I do like the way the demo ended, where there was the giant ship and everyone was like, "Okay, we're gonna work together now." After we were just killing each other, but let's take down that ginormous ship. I thought it looked really fun. The combat looked absolutely brutal, especially when you're rolling past another ship and all 20 of your cannons are going off at once. I thought it was stunning to look at. Did they give a release date for that? I don't have that in my notes.
I don't remember. And I would just love like a Sea of Thieves, like this fucking multiplayer boat on boat battle with like,
yes, I agree.
10 ships of players, just let them just fucking go at it where you can upgrade your ship and stuff like that. I would love to see that aspect of it, but I don't think they had a release date on this yet. I can't wait to see when they come out with their own Kraken. See what it looks like.
Well, listen, they keep saying the Kraken's lacking, so listen. Look, here's the thing. I'm not dumping on Sea of Thieves. As a matter of fact, I'm so proud of Rare as a company. Remember, everyone thought that they were dead, right? All they were doing was Avatar stuff. They've proved to the world that they could make a game. I think the problem with Sea of Thieves as a whole, not to change subjects, is that it just needs content. And the same way we always talk about vanilla Destiny, right? And we talk about vanilla The Division and vanilla Ghost Recon and all of these serviceable kind of games. When they're fixed with content, people tend to forget about its starting point. And I think Sea of Thieves has the opportunity to do that. They did show several new DLCs coming out. They did show with something I think you're gonna like this if you remember that there's gonna be ghost ships with skeletons hunting you.
I saw that.
So I thought that was kind of dope because that could take on the form of two men ships are getting ready to fight, and then a pirate ship, a ghost pirate ship comes out. You guys stop fighting with each other to take down this particular ship. I think it opens up great playability, but it needs more content. I'm hoping that this is going to have, what I'm hoping is this. Because it's Ubisoft and because we don't have an actual release date, they might have just been taking notes and seeing what not to do with Sea of Thieves, and maybe they're just going to hold it and add more content. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far out their roadmap goes. I thought I saw something like maybe like a year or so, but I know we have some stuff coming through the rest of the year, but like coming in the next year, at some point they're either going to stop supporting this game or just move on to something else, because Rare, I think they're working on a second game right now.
They are. That's from what we hear. And I don't have any concrete information, but from what I understand, they are currently working on another game.
Yeah, they had a hiring recently, like maybe like 2 months ago, where they had something out there where they're to work on a different game. But But I'm curious to see how much support they put into this. Like, is this going to be a year and some change, or is this going to be like a Minecraft thing where they're constantly building this thing for the next 4 or 5 years?
You know what? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I would like to believe that we're gonna see this take off. You know, I think it would almost be a bloody shame, in my opinion, that this can't fail for Rare. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think it can. I think that I don't think it will. I think if the content that they're going to have moving forward is going to be substantial, they are good at listening to their fans. And the fans have been very loud in regards to this. So I honestly think, this is just me, that they have the talent and the capability to make this game absolutely incredible. And you know what? My glass is always half full rather than half empty. That's how my look on life is. Is it wrong? Well, it may be wrong for some people, but it's not wrong for me. And I am a believer in Rare. I believe that Microsoft is in a position where they know that this game cannot be left by the wayside to die. Right? We're aware of that, but you know what? That's a conversation for another whole podcast. I don't want to go too far off, but I want to talk about Transference VR. It's a horror game for the PlayStation VR. It looked dope. I'm not going to lie. Now, do you have a PlayStation VR?
I do not.
You do not. Well, I do. And I made the mistake of trying to play Resident Evil 7, and I got about 3 hours in, and I realized that if I wanted to continue collecting my pension, I would not play it. So I beat the game twice on the PS4 regular style. I should have known what I was getting myself into when I was playing the kitchen demo, where they rolled the head of the guy and I lifted up my feet because I thought it was going to hit my feet, even though I'm sitting in a chair like a dummy, right? It's not really going to hit my feet. But I lifted up my feet and then I felt the thing over my shoulder. And I refused to look behind me. Like it was and wound up killing me. I was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't a good idea. But I went with it. And after 3 hours, I was like, I'm just going to play Resident Evil the way it was meant to be played. And that's sitting on the couch in the dark, just watching the boob tube. But Transference VR looked fantastic. I don't know much about it. It was just a short demo. If anybody in the chat is interested, give me a 1. If you don't care, put a 2, and we're gonna move on. But I thought it was good. It might be, I'm starving for VR stuff, especially when it comes in the horror realm. I'm really looking forward to see where this game goes. Hopefully, it's not a flop. You just never know. But I want to talk about the next thing, and I thought it was very interesting for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, they announced Starlink, and it is a Toys to Life game that you build ships, and they show up on the screen. Now, what's very strange about this is on two fronts. First and foremost, I thought the Toys to Life genre was dead, and I'm very surprised Ubisoft would take a chance and add this. Did you see this part of the show?
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't know it was a toy, to life game or whatever the hell genre we're creating now, but I thought it was just like a space shooter, like just a traditional old school space shooter. When I heard about it, because I really didn't pay, like when I was doing my predictions and stuff like that, I remember hearing about this game. I was like, oh yeah, they haven't talked about this in a while, but I didn't know what it was. And when I saw the guy come out with the controller with the little ship on it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And I think what really kind of caught my eye was the fact they brought Star Fox into the game. Like it's a cross, play thing or whatever they have, just like using a Nintendo asset for the game. That kind of threw me for a loop there for a minute. But I have no idea what this game is about other than seeing what I saw on stage. And it's like those little Nintendo Amobis or whatever. Like I've never gotten into that. So like the fact that it's that type of thing has already turned me off from the game.
Okay, I mean, I can see that. I can definitely see where it would turn you off a bit. Here's the thing: what the next part of the conference I thought was awesome. I'm a big Nintendo fan, right? I don't think that's shocking. Um, and when they showed Miyamoto come on the screen, I was like, wow, that is amazing. What I really like about him as a human being is that even with all of his fame and fortune, he's still a very shy person, right?
Yeah.
Like when they put the camera on him, he was almost embarrassed, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't you don't really get that. And I thought that was incredible. Did you see the part of the show? And what is your take on him as just a developer and as a whole?
Yeah, I saw that part, and I was kind of commenting on a second ago. Like, him coming on their stage to announce the Star Fox thing, I think was really, really cool. You know, that dude's an icon, man, when it comes to video games. And like people, like, you don't hear that much about him unless it's like E3. I don't anyway. Usually like E3, I hear more about the guy, but like as much as he's done, like for all the games he's done for Nintendo, man, it's great that he's letting this come over. And I don't know if it kind of came from the developer. The game came out and kind of reached out because he said he was a Star Fox fan and he really wanted this to happen. And the fact that they were able to make it happen, it wasn't like, like this whole crossplay thing we have going on right now with Fortnite. It wasn't like people bumping heads. Someone probably went to him and knocked on his door or sent him an email saying, hey, man, we like puts in the game. He's like, okay, I want this anywhere. I'm okay with this happening. So it wasn't a big deal. Like, it wasn't like, it didn't seem like he cared, like that it went there. It was like, he's like, cool. I'm wondering now if Star Fox is going to be just available for the Switch version, or like, is it going to be able to go on the PlayStation 4 version as well, or whatever?
I'm almost positive that it's going to be an exclusive. Hey, listen, we got a surprise guest who wanted to join in, and I'm glad that I knew how to do it, because my brother will tell you, Neo Mental, I'm not that technically savvy. Doing all of this all is new for me. The Don, what's up, dude? Thank you so much for coming in.
Don Diggy. What's up, guys?
What up?
Oh, just saw you and Pred just hanging out. I'm like, man,
yeah, dude. You know what?
But three's a crowd, so I
you know what? It's not nope, not at all. Listen, I'm willing to kiss that ring anytime. There's no doubt about it. So you know what? You're welcome anytime. Like I said, it's funny because Pred, I had sent out a tweet yesterday, basically opening an invitation to anyone that wanted to come on, and it's funny, because Pred sent a GIF of like, hey, I'm here, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I don't like asking you guys too often, because then it sounds like I'm a pain in the rear, right? Like, oh, Boom is asking again, But anytime you have an open invitation, anytime you guys want to come on, you guys are awesome. You always bring something to the table. Don, I want to pick your brain on something. I know you said you only had 30 minutes, and I know that we're talking about Ubisoft. There's not much left of the show. We're almost at the last part where, we're going to talk, of course, about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which looks insane. But I saw you chatting with my brother Neo Mental, and I kind of really want to pick your brain with this, because the hot topic right now in gaming is the Fortnite situation with Sony. And you are a developer, and you do have your ear to the ground. And I know that it's a little off subject, but I think it is important to talk about. It's something that I'm going to bring up on my show on Friday, but you're here, and I really, really, really want the audience to hear your opinion on it. Is this like a total dick move for Sony?
It's growing pains, I think. They have their reasons why they have certain things written in a certain way. As far as I understand, the platform agreement, so that's what it is. When you release a game, there's agreements you sign for. A certain percentage of your dollars go to Sony in order to be on their platform. And there's certain other requirements you got to meet in order to have your game be on their platform. One of them is, I think the wording, and don't quote me word for word on this, right? But the wording is along the lines of something that connectivity can't be done on competing platforms. So what's interesting about that, they don't really consider a PC a competing platform, because technically PlayStation now can play on a PC. They don't consider Vita a competing platform, right? And then obviously don't consider PlayStation a competing platform, but they'll consider, like, for example, Nintendo a competing platform, and they'll consider Xbox a competing platform.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's kind of how the wording just is. They have their reasonings for it. I think at some level, somebody there is trying to maybe restructure to allow certain smaller things like this happen. The problem is once you open that door, it's a slippery slope. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Once you make an exception in one place, you start to have to make an exception in others. And I think that's where the real concern really lies with all this for Sony as a platform. They're in the lead, but they also know that can be short-lived. As much as a lot of people are PlayStation fans, and they have a lot of pride on the amount of sales of that platform, that can all change from one iteration of hardware to another, even with continuous, platforms kind of never-ending sort of thing we're kind of going to possibly be dealing with going forward here. So, that all that stuff can affect them. And I think this is one of the first times that the situation kind of almost Sony's stance dug into the consumer's pocket, if that makes any sense. So if you invested a lot in Fortnite, a lot of time, which is valuable to the money from the consumer, because time and money are both a thing, right? Time is money and vice versa, right? So, you've invested that much in Fortnite, you can't bring it over to the other platforms, but one platform does it, then that's when it starts going, well, wait a minute here. This is my dollars. And I think this is one of the few times where you're starting to see people that they're not the diehard Sony fan that hates Xbox, but they're just fans of, say, Sony, and they don't necessarily have a stigma or a hate for other platforms. Those people are really starting to speak up now. They're saying, what the hell? I spent my money. I want to play this game. And now they're starting to think that maybe the combination between Switch and Sony is maybe not for them. Maybe it's Xbox and Sony, or PC and PC and Switch, whatever it may be. So,
Predator, what's your take? Because I know you said your stepson was hitting you up for money for for Fortnite again. I think this is a bad deal. Not being okay. The issue, the crossplay issue itself sucks, right? And I get it. And I actually don't really play Fortnite. I have played it. It's just not for me. So I have not invested a lot of money into it. But if you are a person who, let's say, put 100 hours into it and possibly spent $200 on emotes and everything else, and you want to play the game, if you bought this stuff on the PlayStation 4 and you try to log into your account, it's going to give you an error message. So you don't even have access to your stuff anywhere else. It's just on PlayStation. That's pissing off a lot of people. Pred, would that piss you off as a consumer?
Yeah, if I paid for that shit. I don't know if there's any way around just refunding your money, let you buy it elsewhere, but I think it's locked to your account where even if the playing with other people thing, that's fine. Y'all don't want us to play with other consoles, whatever. But at least give me my account back and let me use it somewhere else. I think that'd be the right thing to do. But I'd be pissed. You spent money on these products that you can't use anywhere else but the PlayStation 4 because they have this, this animosity towards crossplay. I'd be upset about it, especially some of these kids have spent like I said, my stepson's been down here 2 or 3 times since he's been here the last 2 weeks, asking for a couple of $5 here, $5 there, and that shit builds up over time. So if you have $200 into this already, into a character or to the game, and you want to go play it while you take a shit on your Switch and you can't because you're blocked out of the account, I'd be fucking pissed too.
I believe the correct term is poop and play.
Poop and play.
Yeah.
Yes, it certainly is. Look, I am going to say this, and I don't have the tweet in front of me. I read it on yesterday's show. I talked about it yesterday, but I kind of want to bring it up simply because he is a big name. Greg Miller, who is the PlayStation 4. It's literally the system's biggest fanboy. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. That's his game. That's his system. That's his brand. He has a lot of friends in the industry that are PlayStation only developers. He probably has all of their cell phone numbers in his phone that he can just speed dial and talk to the CEO if he wants. He's very influential when it comes to the PlayStation community. And he sent out a tweet where it started off with, "Hey, at PlayStation, fix this." And he went into, and I'm going to paraphrase here that, this is not what a leader of the industry is supposed to do. And their fear of change is getting in the way of the importance of their customers. And I think he's 100% right. Now, whether or not this is going to get fixed or not, and I'm kind of on the same line with you, Don. I don't think it does get fixed, because if they allow it for this game, people are going to be screaming to allow it for something else, and maybe that's not Sony's policy.
Well, and you have Old Guard there. You also have, what gives me a little bit of hope is the kind of a little bit more of a change towards looking at active user base. That was something that, one set of fans would make fun of another set of fans because one platform was doing it, but now both platforms are doing it. That drives your decisions to be different. It drives your decision to be. So if you look at everything that Microsoft's done since that announcement, everything's kind of changed as a platform, right? As far as what we know and understand Xbox, some things people like, some people don't like, right? But at the end of the day, they're all consumer-friendly type choices that really just encourage you to engage in the platform, feel confident in having your credit card on that platform, that ecosystem, which in turn makes you confident to make purchases and not think twice about it because you've earned that goodwill and that trust. In regards to that, Sony has that one foot in the past where they don't want to let go of what has made them so successful, right? They don't want to let go of that, and I understand where they're coming from. But the same token, if you continue to hold on to that and not make the right moves going forward, you're going to be left in the dark. And there's two companies that have really big, or two big properties have really big push on the Sony platform right now. One of them is Fortnite, which is one of the biggest games out there right now. And the other is, Minecraft, right? These are both games pushing for this interconnectivity. They want people to engage into those games. They want people to be able to play anywhere they want to go. And that's beneficial for the companies that have it. It's beneficial for, honestly, the end user. But I think what happens, I don't think Sony sees where it's beneficial to them. And I think that's the next step, is to kind of illustrate, hey, this is where it's beneficial. Because I think people are going to play on a PlayStation because they like PlayStation. That's where their home is, right?
Correct. Yes.
They may dabble in some other things here and there when we're looking at iterative hardware and maybe some exclusive over here and there, but they're still going to continue to play where they find home, where they feel comfortable, where their friends are, those sort of things. So kind of keeping that people engaged instead of forcing them, like say their friends jump ship, they all go to Xbox or whatever it may be. Where does that leave that consumer? They're left with a hard choice of maybe abandoning the platform, abandoning their investment to go play with their friends. And you've put them in this awkward position because you want to play hardball with the customer. So it's a touchy subject. It's a good thing, though, that these things are coming up because it evolves a lot of games. I think when we have games as a service, which is a thing, I think there's only so much time that people have. And these player pools will, as you start seeing more and more games there, these player pools will start to kind of drop a little bit.
Yes, I agree.
I think what keeps those alive and what's essential for those companies to be healthy is crossplay, because then the player pool kind of goes back up in regards that the customers continue to engage, the conversation continues to go. There's multiple elements that comes right down to that. So I think crossplay ultimately is healthy for the industry. And then that's the bottom line. And that's going to eventually, make its way to the platform providers where they're both just going to be a little bit more healthy versus, just kind of fighting over the same scraps, the same piece of the pie, if you kind of know what I'm talking about. So
yes, absolutely. Well, look, this is the problem. They are in the driver's seat, and they don't have to make any course corrections when it comes to the hardware and the games they're releasing. Though I am going to say this, I'm wondering this hardball that you were talking about that they're playing could look. They won this generation. That's the end of the story. There's no sugarcoating it. Okay, but this is wrong. And I'm wondering, I mean, look, like I said, the second part of Greg Miller's tweet was that he was saying, well, maybe my investment in the PlayStation to play Fortnite was wrong. And I think I might just go over to Xbox because I want to play it on my Switch. And like I said, that statement does ring a significant amount of,
well, it's not even an emotional statement. That's a factual statement. That's like
yes.
a logical step that he's having to make, right? He's somebody that's really passionate about Sony. So for him to say that in the way he words it, it's something he really had to think about in regards to that, where he's going to invest his dollar. So, it makes a lot of sense. There's some things I don't think Sony is an industry leader because of things like this. And amount of sales doesn't really make you an industry leader, as in you're setting trends, you're doing things that other people are not doing. And those sort of things, when you're setting trends and you're showing new avenues, showing people a new way of doing things, I look at that more as an industry leader of like a beacon of light of just making the industry grow. And I just don't think that way when I think of Sony. I think they're a leader in sales, 100%. And that's kind of where the problem is. They're in the leader in sales, but they're not industry leaders. They don't think like that. So I think the leadership change at Sony, I'm hoping is going to present better things. I mean, that's my hope for the platform, for people like Sony. So
yeah, well, that's definitely good. Pred, anything else you want to add to this?
No, I have nothing.
All right. Well, listen, I just want to jump back because I don't want to leave the press conference altogether, because there were a couple of people that were really interested in the Tours to Life thing. First of all, from what I understand and from my notes, the Star Fox edition is exclusive to, of course, the Switch. That Star Fox ship that you're going to be able to use is going to be basically an exclusive part of that game. I think it's going to come in the Switch packaging, if you will, with the game. And I think that the other for the Xbox and for the PlayStation 4, it's going to just be a different ship, which is fine because obviously Star Fox is, of course, a Nintendo property. I really thought, like I said, we'll go real quick back to Miyamoto showing up. Man, that's a person. I don't know him personally. I've never met him, but that's just a person. You look at him, and you say, man, I just love that guy because he is so good for the industry. And being that that you just popped in, Don, how important is it for Ubisoft selling this new Toys to Life thing to have Miyamoto there on their press conference? Do you think it matters?
Well, I think it does matter. I mean, he's an icon in the industry. I think. Even me, like, I used to be a big Nintendo fan growing up, and I've fallen out of love for the platform just in general. And I'm probably not going to pick up a Switch. I just haven't seen anything compelling enough to make me go buy it. But regardless of all that, Miyamoto, I'm probably saying his name wrong. I have a lot of respect for him. And he goes about development differently. He has a way of just continually. He's an innovator in the industry.
Yes,
like
we
talk about leaders in the industry, right? Like Nintendo is, they've fallen from grace quite a bit here and there. Yes. And there's some of their influences are at times when they weren't the biggest selling, but they were still a leader in the industry. Shoulder buttons, Nintendo, four button, four facing buttons on the front. Nintendo, the first one to introduce an analog stick.
Nintendo
console gaming. Nintendo.
Yes.
Trigger button. Nintendo. Like, he's been involved in controllers. So some of the best things I like about an Xbox controller are stemmed from Nintendo. Even analog placement, even though like the N64 had a weird like three pistol grip like setup, But a lot of influence, believe it or not, like if you look at a Dreamcast controller or an Xbox controller, you look at the genesis of all that. The reason why the analog stick is actually directly above you on the left hand side on like an Xbox or a Dreamcast is actually the influence Nintendo had, because when you hold the N64 controller, the analog stick was actually directly above, which was an ergonomic decision they made in regards to that. The trigger, another ergonomic decision that they made in regards to pistol grips. That was Nintendo, right?
Yes.
Like, someone would argue PlayStation did a little bit, but I don't know if those little nubs really count as a pistol grip for the original PlayStation. So, like, they innovated in a lot of space. They even were playing around with online gaming, though, and it never took off. As early, they were playing around with the idea back in the original Nintendo days. So, like, Nintendo has been like an innovator. He has been kind of behind the scenes on all that sort of stuff. He's been kind of that go-to guy. So, yeah, he's an important part of the industry. I have the utmost respect for him. The fact that they're willing to work with third party, this shows like a different approach from Nintendo, because the third party and Nintendo has always kind of butted heads a little bit.
Yes, they certainly have.
Right. So,
yes.
So what this really marks is more of a change of third party wanting to bury the hatchet. I think Nintendo wanting to kind of move on from some of their hard-nosed kind of mentality. And Ubisoft is trying to build a strong relationship with Nintendo. They always have.
They really have, yes.
Yeah, yep. And I think that's good. I think that's good for people that are interested in the platform. They should have those games. I think it's, in some cases, I think it's healthy for third party to sometimes have those strong relationships with the platform provider and do something special for that platform. And it's fan service, right? But it makes those customers feel like they count.
Well, I put it to this way. It would make me, and this is the funny thing, like, I like achievements and I like trophies. I really do. But to be completely honest with you, having the Star Fox character and ship in this game would kind of move me to purchase this on the Switch rather than my platform of choice, which of course is the Xbox, simply because of the fan service that you're talking about.
You know what you asked me what's going to probably convince me to buy a Switch, because I'm not even on the fence, right? I think what would be is that crossplay thing we talked about earlier, right? If my saves and my stuff can go over to, say, a portable version,
right,
seamlessly, then I would double dip and buy a second game on that platform, and purchase it. Select titles. It wouldn't be a lot or anything like that, but that would.
But your favorites, though,
right? Wait, yeah. I mean, there's a couple other things I want to see the back compat. The like titles from previous libraries from Nintendo. Right. I think that would sell me, but I don't think that's going to happen from all the talk that I hear from them. So, there's a couple things they can do and to try to win me over. And if they do those things, maybe. But regardless, I mean, if you're a Nintendo fan and you're getting more support on the Switch than you have on other previous Nintendo titles and platforms, I mean, that's a good thing. And you're not getting like shovelware type stuff. You're getting like an actual game. So that's good. I mean, you still don't have a lot of support, but it's still more than, I would say more quality than quantity, like you got with the Wii, and it's more quantity than what you got with the Wii U. So
yes, for sure. Absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to move on to the last part of the conference, which of course was one of the bigger parts for them. And that, of course, is the Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is set in ancient Greece. I'm a gigantic fan of 300. I don't know how you guys feel about that film or the second one. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. This is the first time. This isn't the first Assassin's Creed where you're playing two different characters. You had that with the brother and sister in the one prior to Odyssey. The one set in Egypt, which was last year's game. And then, of course, you had multiple times where you were playing, his wife, and then you played the main character. But this is the first time, in an Assassin's Creed game where you're going to be able to pick whether you play as a female or a male, two different characters. The male, obviously, his name is Alexios. Yeah, thank you for that. And Cassandra is the female character. They both look really interesting. I'm curious, and I don't think that they explain this. Are the games the same? Even if you pick, so they're two separate games.
So the story goes a little bit differently. They didn't go into detail. They had like a breakdown of the game, kind of like playthrough, and they had a developer kind of commentary type thing after the conference. They were showing, and that I've seen a couple of videos of that sort of stuff kind of floating around. But they say they are a little bit different. The story, as far as how they interact with you and things along those lines. Where I'm more curious, because Assassin's Creed is more of a game of lineage.
Yes.
Of one generation to the other. Like, how does that play out throughout the game? Like the story's got to be different, right? If there's even a tad bit of romance relationship in there, that's got to be different between the two, right? Because these are predecessors to other people, so that lineage carries on differently depending on how the story is. So the somewhat, I think it's like a 5% type difference between the two. But you don't play as in, hey, put the girl in there and it's the same game. You play the girl as the girl, or you play the guy as the guy. So
yeah.
Well, look, let me just say this: it looks gorgeous, and if it's anything like the one set in Egypt, where we're going to have, mythos from Greece, it should be a fantastic title. I'm very surprised that we're getting back-to-back Assassin's Creeds, considering they took that time off.
This was a 3 or 4 year development cycle.
Yes, yeah, it has been 4 years.
So they took that time off, but what they did is they didn't stop. The teams didn't stop what they were doing, right? They're like, hey, we take this year off, we give this team more time. And inherently, since this is the predecessor after that one, we've given this team more time as well. So
it's made me just miss Rise. I think Pink Floyd just said it in the chat too. Like when I saw this, first thing I thought was Rise, and then
yeah. Oh my God, yeah, I sure did. Yeah.
Then I thought this looks just like Odyssey with just a new skin, which it does. I mean, they're using the same engine, etc., same mechanics, and some of the while I was watching this, all I saw was Assassin's Creed Origins with the same skin on it, or with a different skin put on it. So it looked exactly the same. New story, of course, but
the environments kind of look that way, right?
Yeah.
It feels that same kind of open space.
Mm-hmm. It reminded me a lot of that as well. I mean, I was a little kind of shocked too that they went back to back again. And I think one of the first things I said on Twitter was like, oh, here we go with that rinse and repeat, tried and true philosophy they do with their Assassin's Creed. It's a yearly thing now. Again, they took that time off, and now it's going to be a yearly franchise again. And is exactly what got them people got burned out from it when it happened. So I thought maybe a 2-year wait for this one would have been great, but I mean, I'll probably end up picking it up. I can't talk shit. I love the Origins. It was great.
No, I loved it. I absolutely fantastic from start to
finish. Spartan. Yeah, that's done. That's a done deal.
I don't think there's anything wrong for questioning for liking the series, right? You come from a perspective of somebody that plays the series. To answer your other question, there is an element I guess the spear is a some mystical weapon or something like that along the line. So if you ever look at any of the artwork, you'll always be carrying a weapon, but you'll see a spear, like a broken spearhead in his other hand that apparently is, people think it has something to do with the gods or whatever it may be with Athens and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Well, look, it should be interesting. I'm buying it. That's a day one purchase for me. I've been a huge Assassin's Creed fan since the beginning. I did not really care for 1, and then after they basically fixed, the game with 2, it was just all she wrote. I bought every one of them. My question to you guys, and I'll say this for the chat: when are they finally going to give us what we really want in an Assassin's Creed game? And that, of course, is go to Japan. Feudal Japan would be such an incredible setting. I know we have a couple of games coming out, for different consoles that are going to be set in, ancient Japan. but I would love to see Assassin's Creed go there. What about you guys? Is that a you know a theory that you like?
Brad. What were you saying, Don?
What I was gonna say is like I think that's the easy answer.
Yeah, sure.
I think a lot of the settings and I think what makes it, don't get me wrong. I one of my favorite things I saw on Sony stage was the samurai game, the Ghost Tsushima. Yeah, fantastic. So that being said, like in that setting, I think one of the appeals of Assassin's Creed is they go to places that just other games don't do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
If you look at the historical nature of every single setting they've done, like who does old time Italy? Who does France, right? Or the French Revolution? Like it's a series that can go to places that no other series really can go. And I think that some of my reservations are similar to Pred's in the sense that the setting seems very similar to Egypt, even though it's not Egypt. I get it. And it doesn't differentiate itself enough away from the last one they just did. But one of my favorite things is they at least still did a different setting. Because Greece, Athens, all that sort of stuff is, I think that's appealing to me in regards to that. But if we keep kind of recycling through the same places, the same eras as other games, I think Assassin's Creed loses a little bit of something that sets itself apart. In that sense, I mean, the one I hated the most was Brotherhood. If you go through Assassin's Creed, it's because it's the same character in the same setting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That I didn't like it, and I got back into the series after I realized they kept doing different settings. So,
right. What about you, Fred?
Chronicles did go through China, didn't they? I think that was like a side scroller, though, wasn't it?
They have a bunch of side scrollers. They have one that's in India,
Russia, I believe.
Yeah, stuff like that. So,
but you're right. I mean, I would love to see. If I could just go in there and talk to them and tell them what I would want in Assassin's Creed, I'd love something modern day. Like
that's something that's actually very interesting.
Like that.
It's funny. The one prior to Origins, what was that called? The one with the brother and sister. It was set in the steampunk kind of revolution where it was.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about with
Old England. Unity, wasn't it?
Yes. Old time London. That one was fantastic. But see, again, the game is a couple of years old, so I don't want to. If you didn't beat that game, let's say for instance you're one of the people playing it, I'm going to do a huge spoiler here. Sorry, I'll give you a minute to just kind of walk away, shut the podcast off, and then come back. You're talking about modern. There was a tear after you beat the game in the middle of one of the harbors, and when you jumped through this tear, it brought you into World War I.
Oh yeah, I remember that part.
That was incredible. I thought that's actually where they were going to go next because you were shooting down blimps. If you remember that, you were using firearms, and I'm like, wow, this is not the Assassin's Creed that I know and love. And I was like, well, I can get into this. So I agree with you. I think maybe doing something a little different, maybe moving it into I'm not saying going to 2099 like Spider-Man, you know what I'm saying, and have him flying around, but to a more modern era would be kind of cool. I think that'd be a nice change up for the series. But I definitely think that the Japan setting is something that all the fans have really been asking for. I hope that we eventually get there. But you know what? That's going to be the end of the show. We're running in. We actually ran a little later today. Usually the show is an hour, but of course, the Don graced us with his presence. I kissed the ring. This was great. It was great having you on. But of course, the show wouldn't be the show without the chat. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone in the chat that whether you just showed up or you were there from the beginning. I do greatly appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to put out there. It is very important to me. Of course, I want to thank my two guests. Predator, I'll start with you. Where could people find you, watch your stuff, and eventually vote for you when it comes to the shenanigans that's been going on at the next podcast?
Next podcast on Saturdays. I think we're going back live this week.
Okay.
Predator_H2OS on Twitter, on Xbox Live, on PlayStation, on YouTube as well. just hit me up and I'll game with you or talk with you. So
awesome. And the Don, well, you know, I know that you're busy and you're always doing stuff, but you're on a lot of shows, and I think people have you come back on the show, especially me, is because you're really knowledgeable when it comes to the industry, because you are not only just a gamer, but you are a dev. Where could people you know, find you if they want to reach out to you?
Well, you can't be a dev and not be a gamer. Otherwise,
I agree. Yes.
Otherwise, it's just an awful job. It's one of the best jobs when you're both, right? It's one of the worst if you're not, right? But yeah, I mean, the best way to follow what I'm doing is the Don_KTR. That's my Twitter handle. Just follow me there, and then basically, if I'm doing something, I've been very sporadic recently. Random people have been throwing me invites. I definitely appreciate it, and it's been quite busy as well. So, but yeah, just definitely follow me. And then next, it will always be my home, regardless. Bot is the one that gave me a shot, so. You know, shout out to him. You know, anything you like what I do or say, well, kind of have to give him a little bit of credit always because of that. So, yeah, and then you know, Brett, I'll take it easy on you on the gameplay. I
haven't played it all in the last like 2 weeks. My stepson's taking over my Xbox, so
I just need enough to beat K Mega. That's all, just a little bit more. That's all I need.
Truck through the mud, and you're good.
Yeah, listen here. Today is the Juggernaut. Me and K Mega have been owning it for a while. I think me and him are going to be able to go head to head this week. So we're going to bring him.
Who what now? We'll talk offline.
Absolutely. Well, once again, guys, thank you for your time. It's greatly appreciated. Listen, Friday show is going to be complete fire. Breakfast with Boom will be airing 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a ton of really good guests. I'm going to put out a tweet of exactly who they are. I'm just trying to, you know, make sure that everyone that I'm going to say is going to be there will be there. It's going to be the post E3 show. We're going to be talking about everything from the top 5 games that we loved, our biggest disappointments, what we wish showed up there that wasn't, our game of the show, and a whole bunch of other topics. I hope that everyone can come and hang out. Again, thanks for everyone in the chat. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Of course, like I said, having big guests is always very important, and I appreciate you guys. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of E3 week.